My name is Astrid Vale, and 2 months ago, I stood in a ballroom wearing a $50 dress while my boss laughed at my appearance. He made a comment to his colleagues about assistants who couldn't dress appropriately for charity galas, said something about shopping at discount stores being obvious. His friends laughed. I smiled politely and checked my phone. My +1 was running late. When Marcus Whitfield walked through those doors 15 minutes later, the laughter stopped. Marcus was a billionaire private equity investor, one of the most powerful men in our industry. He crossed the room directly to me, kissed my cheek, asked if I was ready to make the announcement. My boss's face went pale. He didn't know Marcus, and I had been working together for 8 months. Didn't know I had just secured 51% ownership of the company through Marcus's investment firm. Didn't know his assistant now controlled his entire career. The dress didn't seem so funny anymore. I worked as executive assistant to Richard Hale for 6 years. He ran Hale Capital Management, a mid-sized investment firm with $200 million under management. Respectable but not remarkable. Richard was old money, inherited wealth, Ivy League education, country club membership. He valued pedigree and appearance obsessively. I had neither. I grew up working class, state school education, no connections. But I was exceptional at my job, organized, discreet, intelligent. I managed Richard's entire professional life, scheduled meetings, prepared materials, handled correspondence, made him look more competent than he actually was. Richard treated me like expensive furniture, useful but invisible. He never asked my opinion, never acknowledged my contributions, never saw me as anything beyond support staff. His colleagues were worse. They would discuss confidential business while I sat taking notes. Assuming I didn't understand, assuming I wasn't paying attention, I understood everything, paid attention to everything, quietly built comprehensive knowledge of how investment firms operated, who the players were, where opportunities existed. I was learning while they were underestimating. The annual charity gala was Richard's biggest social event. 500 wealthy donors, major networking opportunity. He expected me to attend and manage logistics, coordinate with event staff, handle any issues, be available but invisible. I attended every year in simple dresses I could afford. Richard never commented. Until this year, I wore a black dress. $50 from a department store. Simple but appropriate. I thought it was fine. Richard disagreed. He saw me arrive and made a face, told his group of colleagues that some people clearly shopped at discount stores. Said it was unfortunate when staff couldn't present properly at elite events. His friends laughed. I stood 3 feet away. He knew I heard. That was the point. What Richard didn't know was that I had stopped being just his assistant months ago. I had been approached by Marcus Whitfield's firm 8 months earlier. They were researching investment opportunities in mid-sized capital management firms. Someone had given them my name as a knowledgeable contact. Initially, I thought it was strange. Why contact an assistant? But the associate explained they wanted real information, not the polished pitch executives gave. They wanted to understand how firms actually operated. What I agreed to have coffee. That coffee became a consulting relationship. Marcus's team paid me to provide insights on Hale Capital and similar firms. What worked, what didn't, where inefficiencies existed, where growth opportunities were. I was careful to stay within legal boundaries. No confidential client information, just operational observations. Strategic insights. The kind of knowledge you gain from 6 years of paying attention while being treated as invisible. Marcus's firm paid me $20,000 for 3 months of consulting, more money than I made in 6 months as Richard's assistant. Then Marcus asked a different question. If he wanted to acquire a firm like Hale Capital, how would he approach it? I said most executives would refuse to sell. Too much ego. But if you approached it as investment rather than acquisition, you might find opportunity. Firms like Hale needed capital to grow. If you offered strategic investment with the right terms, you could secure controlling interest without hostile takeover. Marcus listened carefully, then asked if I would help structure such a deal. As a partner, not consultant, partner. I would identify the target, help negotiate terms, manage the relationship. In exchange, I would receive equity and title. Investment director. Real role, real authority. I said yes immediately. We spent 4 months structuring the approach, Marcus's firm would offer Hale Capital a strategic investment, $25 million for expansion. In exchange, they would take 51% equity. The terms seemed generous. Cash infusion. Richard needed to compete with larger firms. Marcus would be silent partner. Richard could continue running operations. Everything would stay the same except capital availability. For Richard, it seemed like perfect solution. Growth capital without losing control. He didn't read the fine print carefully. The 51% equity didn't go to Marcus personally. It went to a holding company. And that holding company's managing director was me. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who later discovered you held all the power? Share your story in the comments. Richard accepted the investment offer after 2 weeks of negotiation. He thought he was dealing purely with Marcus's firm. Didn't realize I had structured the entire deal. The contracts were signed 3 weeks before the charity gala. But the announcement was scheduled for the following month. Richard knew Marcus Whitfield was now a major investor. He didn't know I was anything beyond his assistant. That revelation was planned for maximum impact.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn on bell notification to stay updated for more revenge stories.
The gala was scheduled for a Saturday evening. Marcus and I coordinated timing carefully. He would arrive fashionably late, make an entrance, find me. We would socialize briefly, then make the announcement during the networking portion. Everyone who mattered would be present. Board members, major clients, industry peers. The revelation would be public and undeniable. Richard's entire world would shift in one moment. From superior to subordinate, from boss to employee, serving a board I controlled. I arrived at the gala at 6, checked logistics, ensured everything was running smoothly. Richard saw me and made his comment about my cheap dress. His colleagues laughed. I smiled and moved on. Checked my phone. Marcus was 20 minutes out. I positioned myself near the main entrance, waited. Richard was across the room networking, oblivious to what was coming. At 6:30, Marcus walked through the doors, heads turned. Everyone recognized him, billionaire investor, industry legend. He scanned the room, saw me, walked directly over, kissed my cheek like we were old friends, asked if I was ready. I said yes. We walked through the ballroom together. Marcus greeted people warmly, introduced me as his colleague, investment director at his firm, managing partner on the Hale Capital deal. People were confused. Richard's assistant was now introduced as an investment director at Marcus Whitfield's firm. Richard saw us across the room. His expression was priceless. Confusion, disbelief, growing horror as he processed what Marcus's presence meant, what my new title meant, what managing partner on his deal meant. Marcus approached Richard with me beside him, extended his hand warmly, said he was pleased to formalize their partnership publicly. Richard shook hands automatically, asked what I was doing with Marcus. Marcus looked confused, said I was his investment director. Had I not mentioned it? Richard's face went from confused to pale. I explained calmly that I had been consulting with Marcus's firm for months, had structured the investment deal personally, was now managing director of the holding company that owned 51% of Hale Capital, effectively making me majority stakeholder. Richard stared, couldn't process what he was hearing. His assistant owned his company? Marcus suggested we make a proper announcement, gathered the key people, board members, major clients, explained the investment structure publicly, introduced me as the managing director overseeing the partnership, outlined the strategic vision going forward. Richard stood to the side looking shell-shocked. His board members congratulated me enthusiastically. They had worked with me for years, knew I was competent, were thrilled someone strategic was now providing oversight. One board member said it was about time I got proper recognition for my capabilities. Richard said nothing, just stood there watching his assistant become his boss in real time. After the announcement, the gala continued. People approached me differently. No longer invisible assistant, now powerful investor, strategic partner, someone whose opinion mattered. Richard avoided me, stayed across the ballroom talking to people who hadn't fully grasped the situation yet. Marcus and I socialized, discussed next steps, integration plans, growth strategy. We left together around 9. As we walked out, I saw Richard watching. The $50 dress suddenly seemed irrelevant. I was wearing the same dress, but the power dynamic had completely reversed. Clothes never mattered. Power always did. The following Monday, I arrived at the office as investment director. Corner office, executive floor, my own assistant. Richard reported to the board. I sat on the board. The structure was clear. I attended my first board meeting that Wednesday. Richard presented quarterly results. I asked strategic questions, pushed on inefficiencies I had observed for years, suggested operational improvements. The board loved it. Someone was finally providing real oversight. Richard was professional, but his discomfort was visible. His former assistant was now evaluating his performance. The reversal was complete. Over the next 3 months, we implemented significant changes, hired new talent, restructured underperforming divisions, improved technology infrastructure. Results improved immediately. Assets under management grew 15%. Client satisfaction increased. The firm was thriving under actual strategic leadership. Richard remained as CEO, but with clearly defined limitations. He ran operations. I set strategy. The board supported me completely. They had watched me make Richard effective for years. Now I was making the company effective. Richard and I maintained professional relationship. No personal discussions, no reference to our previous dynamic, just business. He came to understand that I had always been capable of this level of work. He just never bothered to notice. His loss was Marcus's gain, and mine. I built a career from invisibility, learned everything while being dismissed, then used that knowledge to take control. That's not luck. That's strategy. Patience. Opportunism. The $50 dress became symbolic afterward. Marcus joked I should frame it. Evidence that value isn't determined by price tags or appearance, it's determined by capability and vision. I kept it. Not framed. Just in my closet. Reminder of the night everything changed. The night I stopped being invisible. The night my boss learned that underestimating people is expensive. That dismissing someone's worth based on appearance is catastrophically foolish. That the quiet assistant taking notes might be the smartest person in the room. Richard laughed at my dress. I bought his company. That's elegant revenge. No drama, no confrontation, just structural power shift executed perfectly. Silent power is the best power. The kind people don't see coming. The kind that changes everything without needing announcement. Though the announcement was satisfying. Watching Richard realize his assistant owned majority shares was worth years of being invisible. Poetic justice isn't loud. It's a billionaire walking across a ballroom to greet you while your former boss watches his world restructure. That's the kind of revenge that lasts. Drenched in irony, silent in execution, absolute in impact. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to watch more revenge and inspiring stories that will make you excited like this one. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let us know what you think about this story.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn on bell notification to stay updated for more revenge stories.